Hello and welcome back to Troubadour Reacts. My name is Kirk and I am musically challenged, at least according to my high school band instructor. And on this show, I try to rectify that by listening to great works of modern music that all of you recommend to me. And now I am continuing, after a little bit of a hiatus, I'm continuing my Ren Gill journey. And today we're going to be listening to The Bedroom. It's called just The Bedroom. The Bedroom, yes. It's part of Vincent's Tale. So if this is your first time, please subscribe. I do promise to try to do more of these, but I've been on my other channel more, which is Troubadour channel, where I do educational videos on literature, canonical works of Western art. And now I'm getting into kind of cultural topics, talking about the Odyssey in particular recently. I do have my own translation of the Iliad, so I hope you will go check that out. You can get chapter 1 for free. This is my translation for first timers. And I have been workshopping this with people in my class that you could actually join a class of mine in the future. But this is a live class that I teach, and I used this for the first time and people loved it. So I'm going to do more of those translations. So check it out, troubadour.studio/Iliad. And if you want to join for live discussions of great works of literary art from Homer to Melville and beyond, join the Literary Canon Club. It's only $25 a month. You get to spend some time with me. There's a forum. I'll introduce you to some great works of literary art, and we'll actually discuss once a month. We'll discuss a short story, a poem, and a movie. And you don't have to watch everything if you don't have time, but you'll be able to discuss some of it with me and a group of other people every month. So check it out, troubadour.studio/Literary Canon Club. Okay, so as for pitching myself, great. Thank you for sticking around for that. Let's get into the song. In film school, they made me do this kind of role a couple times. The bald head guy that kind of watches over everything. When I was in film school, I literally did that for some friends of mine. Walking down the prison guard. All right, here we go. Oh, I have that. What's my mic? Ooh. All right, here we go, baby. He doesn't start off soft, does he? Oh.
Have you ever felt anger with nowhere to place it? Vincent felt cold, neglected and jaded, impotent, empathy castrated. Look for the new thing, always look for the new thing, but never look inside, never look within, without, above, below, same thing. Wait, it gets deeper than that. The insane thing is sane men living in insane terrain, contorting insane brains that are kind of deranged, strange, without the factor of cause and effect. Factually, the man's a casualty of constant neglect. Let's start at the start. Vincent was born in the dark, home birth to a mother, painted scars on her arm. Track march from the dragon, China white in the palm. Shooting up the birth canal, Vinny fell out like yarn. Tumbled out, himself unraveling, and that was the theme. Exceptionally average grade, sprayed with low self-esteem. From the fire to the frying pan, painting it green.
Lord of the Rings, that's that one.
Cash that rules everything around me. Cream, get the money, funny Vinny. He weren't ever good at hustling, shitty jobs that he was dead and stocking. Started a combustion, nothing. Pulled him out of debt, the debt collector's rushing to be stripping him of everything. Eventually, there's nothing. The cycle is a cycle of a psychopath on ice. The day repeats, the days are weeks, the weeks the most your life. When the day's done, it's the same one.
Tomorrow
it's a repeat, it's a rerun, a deja vu religion, a foreboding of a prison. Whole Britain, Great Britain, hell Britannia rule the waves. We started out with intentions and we ended up like slaves. Drink to kill the tension, but the drinks cost your wage. What
That's
helps
power.
you is what kills you when you're living too deep.
Okay. Oh, there's the... Oof.
And so it goes. Vinny starts to drink to let go. Soon he's drinking, cause when he don't drink, every day is a day on death row. So he drinks so he don't have to think. Mercy tastes bittersweet when the spirit that's inside of him,
Oh man, the range this guy.
sinks in his teeth. And the
Sinks
months
in his
turn
teeth.
over, May to October. More days pissed than the days he spent sober. Skin looks older, demeanor gets colder. Sledgehammer swing to that chip on your shoulder. A cold prison deep in alcoholism. 40% proof, no juice. Inhibition get loose by decision and taboos. When we're living for the booze, who's who he lose himself to? One too many, 1, 2, 3 shots down. Drown those sorrows up in London town. If we in for a penny, we in for a pound. Fate comes full circle. Now it's Vinny boys round.
Man, I can see why he doesn't really need any percussion. Like his voice is like a percussion. Okay, now I'm going to pause. I want to listen to that again. There is no way I can, especially with rap, I could ever listen to the lyrics and come up with much in the first one. If you're able to do that, let me know in the comments. I'm really curious because so much of that is just over my head in terms of the lyrics and what was going on. Like I just have trouble following it that quickly, but I liked the sound of the music and I really love his, he has this with all of his songs, but just the percussive way that he is able to rap in that way. So I'm going to pause. I want to listen to it a couple more times and then, hopefully I can come up with some cool things to say in the second part. Okay, so I've not only listened to it a couple more times, but I've actually read it a few times as well. So I'll share some of the lyrics with you. Obviously, you know the lyrics, but I'm going to read some of the lyrics because it really made me think of a lot of naturalistic type of literature. The song Vincent's or The Bedroom really seems to be about, and I see a lot of this in Ren, how a damaged society creates damaged people and a kind of private self-destruction often begins as a response to public neglect. So this is the cycle. And I see this in a lot of the poems. So it's this idea that there are these things in society that neglect certain people. These forgotten people are they just, for whatever reason, as society, technology, wealth moves on, they just don't go along with it. And actually, this is something I covered a lot in my Western cinema course that I did, where we covered American Westerns. That's the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Sorry, Brits, but I love you, but it is. So I'm doing a bunch of American literature for my courses, and we covered movies from 1939 to 1973, that specifically 12 Western movies. So one of the early movies we watch is a movie called Dodge City in 1939. And the opening sequence is, it has some text on the screen. It's the Civil War. Time has passed since the Civil War. We're starting to rebuild. So it's like we've had this great, big war that's left all this devastation, but things are getting better, right? We're rebuilding in America. And it's represented with the first scene where this train is coming into town. It's this brand new train. It's the first time this train is on this tracks. So train represents progress, But what's the filmmaker does amazingly is that they have a stagecoach, which is the old way of getting, mail and different, products around and through travel at that time before the train. And they're going neck and neck. And the stagecoach is actually keeping up with the train, right? The men, the fat cat guys in the main car start telling the engineer he's got to go faster. You better beat them or I'm going to get you fired, blah, blah, blah. So they're throwing in wood, and they're racing and racing and racing. And the whole time there is this African-American waiter, a couple of them actually, but one of them that has some lines. And the lines have to do with how afraid he is, how this is way too, it's like a speed demon. And and then all the other people, the white fat cats are all laughing at him. And, all while they're having this race. What's really interesting about it is how the race is this kind of forward progress of society from a technological standpoint. And they're beating these other guys that are, so it's showing like, oh, this is progress. This is good. And the movie does say this is good. Like it's a good thing. But the artist is a really perceptive one because he points out right at the beginning that some people are left behind and that African-American, waiter is not, this is not his world. The train is not his world. He does not like being on that train.
You go tell our engineer that stagecoach beats us to the end of the line. He's fired.
Yes, sir. And if this train go any faster, I'm gonna get off and walk. Because I don't like this sizzling alone.
We've got him. We've got him. Gentlemen, that's a symbol of America's future. Progress. Iron men and iron horses. You can't beat them.
And I really get that sense with a lot of Ren Gill stuff. Now, in 1939, they did not confront this about race at this time, but they would in the Western confront it quite a bit later on. But it's just, I found that as an interesting connection of what I was, just thinking about thematically. If you'd like to explore more of these works with me, go to Troubadour Studio /Literary Canon Club. So there's a couple novels and a play and a poem I want to bring up briefly. Now, I just want to give you a quick indication of some ideas. Maybe if you want to explore some of these, you might enjoy this. So the first one is another American. Sorry, I'm a little biased, especially this year, but it's an American. It's an American author by the name of Stephen Crane. He wrote a book that I really enjoy called The Red Badge of Courage. He has another book called The Open Boat, which I really enjoy. And then there's a third one. This is the only other one I've really read, which is called Maggie, a Girl on the Streets, a Girl of the Streets, excuse me. This is 1893. The kind of connection that I see are twofold connections. So one, I think that Stephen Crane and Ren Gill take a very similar approach to their view of society. You could think of it philosophically as a kind of naturalism, where your environment is what affects you completely. And now Ren goes into a kind of psychological look into this, which we'll talk about in a second. But here's a quote from Maggie, a Girl of the Streets. The girl, Maggie, blossomed in a mud puddle. She grew to be a most rare and wonderful production of a tenement district. None of the dirt of Rum Alley seemed to be in her veins. The open mouth of a saloon called seductively to passengers to enter and annihilate sorrow or create rage. And that's how I saw this opening line, the birth scene of Vincent was born in the dark, home birthed to a mother, painted scars on her arms. Vinny fell out like yarn. Vinny fell out like yarn. I felt that viscerally, tumbled out himself, unraveling. I mean, that is such a fascinating metaphor for this whole, view that Ren has of just the unraveling of this. It's, better than the onion, and he attaches it to the umbilical cord. So again, Ren's philosophy is always so clear cut, right? Or it's clear, like he knows what he's saying in the sense of that it all starts with the, coming out of the mother and the things that were negative in the mother's life, which was a societal type of problem or cause by societal issues. And that's very much what's happening with Maggie, a Girl on the Streets. Okay, so the next one, if you're interested in some, extra reading, inspired by this, Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. There's a character, and Russian names I always get wrong, but I think it's something like Marmeladov or Marmoladov, probably Marmoladov. And this happens in a tavern. Here's the line. Do you understand, sir? Do you understand what it means when you have absolutely nowhere to turn? Marmoladov is a drunk who corners a stranger in a tavern and narrates his own destruction with terrible clarity. He has drunk away his family's last coins. His daughter Sonia has been driven to prostitution to feed him. And he knows it. He understands that he has caused this cycle to start or begin of this horror. And it's that lucidity of the drunk who really understands what he's done that I think when I listen to Wren's The Bedroom. Right? It is not a song about someone too numb to understand. This person, Vincent Marmoladov, they know what's going on. They know what they've done in a certain sense. There's a line from Wren, so he drinks so he don't have to think. Again, he's drinking because he's aware, and it's unbearable to be aware, and he's conscious of this. That's how I took it. And so he's trying not to remember it. Mercy, it tastes bittersweet. Now, a play that came to mind partially because I'm on the board of Austin Shakespeare, and we just did this play. Not me, I wasn't in it, but we just did this play recently, Macbeth. And the cycle of the murder, the cause and effect situation, and then the cycle of days and the unraveling of the inner soul in Macbeth and what happens to Macbeth, I think that's very much in Vincent's tale here, in the bedroom story here. I'm just going to read a couple lines from the monologue of Macbeth so you can see the kind of connection to Wren here. So it's tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow. It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. I'm sure you've heard those words. And now hear these lines from Wren. The day repeats, the days are weeks, the weeks are most your life. When the day is done, it's the same one. Both, I think, reduce a whole life to identical days, that the just kind of dreariness of life going tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And it just goes on and on and on. And it's like just eking away at who you are. And then the punchline, a day on death row, right? Wren's living to decay, and a day on death row is the same in a sense of signifying nothing. It's meaninglessness. And the last one I'll mention very briefly, and only because I hope you'll go read this. There's a movie coming out as I'm recording this, is Homer's Odyssey. So it makes me think of the Lotus Eaters and what the Lotus Eaters do. So here's a translation of this scene in Homer. Whosoever of them ate of the honey-sweet fruit of the lotus had no longer any wish to bring back word or to return, but there they wished to stay, feeding on the lotus and forgetful of the way home. So the idea is that when you start eating this plant, this lotus, you don't want to go home anymore. That's the whole point of the Odyssey. All these guys are trying to get home after a 10-year war, and they've been away from home. And it's what's called the nostos, or the return story. And they want to get home, but they can't. And so, or now they've, the men who've eaten this lotus just want to eat it and just stay and just live in this, miasmic, it's kind of like infected their whole souls. And here's a line from a great poem that I recommend everybody read by Alfred Lord Tennyson called The Lotus Eaters. In the afternoon, they came unto a land in which it seemed always afternoon. Let us swear an oath and keep it with an equal mind in the hollow lotus land, to live and lie reclined on the hills like gods together, careless of mankind. Now here's the here's the kind of connection here. The lotus, and the drink, the alcoholic drink in the story of Ren doesn't kill the body. What it does is it kills your desire to return home, the desire to return to who you are, or the desire to just be better in any way. It keeps you in that cycle in a sense. So I found the kind of cycle of drinking and what's happening with Vincent to be very reminiscent of this, what could be a pleasant, but it's a forgetfulness. The lotus is a kind of forgetfulness for where you come from. And, in the Odyssey, Odysseus kind of drags his men back, but in Ren's tale, or I should say in Vincent's tale, nobody drags Vincent back. He kind of stays in that world, and these are the consequences. So there's some other ones, but I hope you guys will check out some of those. If you haven't read that play, Macbeth, if you haven't, Stephen Crane, I recommend everybody try Stephen Crane. He's, it's a powerful story, but not super long, so it's easy to get into. I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure to go to troubadour.studio/Iliad. Get your free chapter 1 of the Iliad. And if you are so inclined, buy the book, especially the print book. That'll be sent to you. And you can buy it in Britain. You can buy it overseas. It's a different link. But once you go to the Iliad page, you'll see there's 2 different links. And then if you want to join me live, for a great book club, go to troubadour.studio/literary canon club. Okay. I'll see you next time.